Hi, I'm Bethany. Welcome to Align Yourself. If some of you may know, and if you don't know, you're about to know in just a second, I am a vegan. And in this video, I will be talking to you about pretty much my health journey throughout all of the years, my whole 18 and a half years of being alive, and how all of that led me to make this decision to become vegan. So I guess I'll just start at the start. Anyway, growing up, I was not raised vegetarian, I was not raised vegan, I was very much just raised an omnivore like most other people. I remember making like the first connection on the meat on my plate being an animal just before I started school actually. But very quickly I was very much reassured that it was normal, just from people telling me it's okay, people telling me it's killed humanely. Didn't know what that meant, but it sounded good. And of course my environment all doing the same thing as me, so that reassured me that it was fine, and that made me think it was fine to me. Anyway, then when I started getting to maybe mid-primary school, like year 3, maybe year 2, I then started learning about health, and they were showing us the food pyramid and everything, and meat was very much a part of that, and so was other animal products like eggs, and so was milk. And so again, everyone else was doing it. It was then told to me that it was healthy. It was also told to me that we're at the top of the food chain and it's the circle of life. And I accepted that and pushed away those little thoughts of feeling upset and everything when I would pat a goat or a pig at those little farms and everything that they move around. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but when you go to say showgrounds, or even sometimes they have events of just having like a farm animal barn and you just go around and pat them and feed them. Anyway, I was just trying to push away those negative thoughts on me eating their kind and just really always focus on the present moment. So then in high school, I was further given more knowledge on what is healthy, and I was told about meat having protein and red meats holding iron, which we need, and dairy giving us the right amount of calcium that we need. And it was also around this time at the start of high school where I started becoming more health conscious, and I was actually very interested in learning how to be more healthy because I wanted to feel great and I wanted to look great. Now, from the time I was 6 years old, I actually couldn't stomach any dairy products anymore. However, after learning about calcium being that good for you and how it's in cow's milk, I kind of got a little bit scared. I was a little bit scared because I knew that I hadn't been having dairy for so long and that my bones must be terrible. And I got socially pressured because ice cream and chocolate milk and everything became such a big thing, and I just wanted to not really be the I really wanted to not be the odd one out so much. I also started consuming more meat for the protein and for the iron, because I knew my iron levels were a little bit low, and I wanted protein because I was going for runs more and starting exercise, and I thought that's what I needed. So then in grade 10, I was 16 years old and I became anemic. And I remember feeling, other than feeling very sickly and tired and like I couldn't run, I also remember being quite confused because I was having red meat on my plate, and more than I usually would have. I was trying to be eating more for quite a few years now. Anyway, I was having more of it for like 4 or 5 nights a week than I ever would usually have, and I didn't have enough iron. I was very confused, but I was put on iron supplements, and I thought that maybe it was hormonal or something else might be going on. And it was also around that time that I finally was allowed to have a phone, and so I had one, and I was able to Google things, and I Googled where I can get iron from, and spinach came up, and I knew that I wanted to be healthier, I wanted to be having more salad, so I was like, great, I'll just be adding a bit more spinach and stuff into my life. And of course my iron levels did get back to normal. However, they were still quite low, but they were over the threshold. I wasn't anemic, I wasn't feeling bad anymore. Then I remember being told that you need so much spinach to get the right amount of iron. There's no point having it, basically. And I still did have it just because it made me feel healthy. However, I was really like not as keen on having spinach anymore if it wasn't going to give me the right amount of iron. It was a bit like, why am I having this anyway? And my mindset back then was a little bit more like, I didn't know how to make food properly, and it was like, ew, this is disgusting. Then I moved towns just before grade 11, and I was even more so invested in trying to create a healthy lifestyle because my mother had just passed away, and I wanted to give my body good health so that I would also feel good mentally. Not long after I had moved, I had met my partner, and he was very much invested into going to the gym, lifting weights, basically that bodybuilding lifestyle. And since I wanted to be healthy too, I signed up for the gym, and we were together very invested in that. And so we were watching YouTubers who were into weightlifting and stuff like that, and we were also following their advice on how you should eat. And so I'd say around this time was actually when I like to say I became protein crazy, because I was definitely having way more protein than I needed. I think it was probably just overload. I sort of felt like I was going a bit extreme with it, and guess what? Or guess where my protein sources were coming from? Animals, of course. So I was having even more meat than I had been before. This was like so much to me. Like, I know to other people it was like, this isn't much meat, but to me, I hadn't been raised having that much meat, and I just felt like I was having a lot more. Along with that, I was having the highest protein yogurt I could find. I was having eggs. Even though they made me feel weird, I was having eggs, and I was of course having whey protein powder. Now this went on for quite a while. I was living this way for about a year, I would say, and then the both of us came across the ketogenic diet, which is when you have no carbs and you allow your body to go into ketosis for most of the day. So I was having very low carbs. I was pretty much just living off of meat and leafy greens and lard and cheese. Yeah, mostly animal products. And this only lasted for about a month for me, because I started feeling like I couldn't stomach the food anymore. I will say mentally I was feeling, I guess, pretty good. Physically, I couldn't work out as intensely. I didn't really have the energy for that. And also physically, I couldn't stomach the food. So I went off of that. And then I think it was about, I don't know, half a month later to a month later that my partner also went off of that. And we were just back to eating our normal omnivorous, is it omnivorous? Diet. And then both of us went through a stage where we were following the more if it fits your macros it's okay then sort of way of thinking, and that actually led us to be eating a whole lot of junk. I should insert a picture on what just one night of junk was like for us. Yeah, so we were having quite a lot of junk. I was having chocolate, like I think it ended up being once, like every night I was having pods or something. It was just really bad, and this only actually lasted for a few months because I came to a stage where I was like, this can't be healthy for you, what are we doing? And so then we just went back to trying to incorporate more healthy things, and it was pretty much just our average diet that we had been mostly doing anyway. Then it was just before my 18th birthday when I started making that connection again. It came up in my life, except this time I was really deeply thinking about it, and I was making the connection between how animals get on our plates. And after the amount of meat I had been eating, I was actually feeling turned off from having it. Like I just didn't want to have it anymore. And then that side to me came in on really thinking more deeply into it and really wondering how those animals get on our shelves. And as much as I tried to ignore it, and the reason why I tried to ignore it is because ever since I started getting into bodybuilding, I was always making fun of like vegans and vegetarians whenever I heard about them, basically, and just making, like, saying things like, oh, they're not getting enough protein and all that kind of stuff. But besides me trying to make excuses and push that empathetic side to me away, I sort of was finding it very difficult to, so I said to myself, okay, I need to be having more fresh fruits and vegetables anyway, so why don't I just be mainly vegetarian? Because that way I'm not being fully vegetarian, that way I'm not laughable, that way I'm not doing anything wrong, basically. So I then became mainly vegetarian. I was only having meat for like the pizzas on the weekends, or like maybe the top of 3 times a week I was having it, and I would just sort of refuse to have it other times, or I'd just be like, I don't really feel like having meat for lunch today or for dinner today. But I didn't really announce it to anyone. I think there was like this fear of judgment on what people might think, since I know I could never really understand it before. And yeah, so it was just very much to myself, and I'd just be like, no, I don't really feel like it. I just want this right now. Or I'm not that hungry, so I'm not gonna have meat, sort of thing. I think the only person who really knew what I was trying to do was my partner. Then it came to the weekend of my 18th birthday, and we decided to make a whole weekend and do activities for that occasion. That is when I came to the first breakfast at this place we were staying at, and it was like an all-you-can-eat sort of breakfast thing, and I just decided to take one piece of bacon. I had the smallest bite, and then I just thought, I don't really feel like this, and so I gave it to my partner. And it was that moment where that side to me that had really been trying to come through, and I guess the new naturistic environment allowed that to actually come up. It had finally come through, and that side was just telling me that it didn't feel right. I felt very empathetic. I felt like I didn't need to be having meat. I felt like I didn't want to be having it at all. I sort of just knew that it wasn't right, and it didn't feel right to me. So it was that weekend that I fully decided that no, I'm being fully vegetarian now. And so when I was having dinners, when we were going out to dinners, I was just ordering the vegetarian option, and I will say they all tasted freaking terrible for some reason. Maybe they just want to turn people off of it. Sometimes I think that restaurants and stuff actually want to turn people off of being vegetarian and everything, because they make the meals terrible. Like, I can make a simpler, better meal than that. So then yeah, I was vegetarian from that point onwards for a few months. And it was just before I graduated high school that I actually became vegan. And how this happened was I walked into the computer room one day and my partner was watching a documentary, and he was watching the documentary What the Health. And he asked me if I could stay there and watch it, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to stay there and watch it, but I was pretty hooked on it. And for like 5 minutes later, I was very much interested because I had already made that shift to being vegetarian, and now I wanted to know about health. Anyway, so we watched that documentary. We were very much surprised. We did our own research. That's when I finally really saw what was going on behind closed doors in the slaughtering industry, and that also shifted my mindset from thinking that cow's milk is okay and eggs are okay when I started doing my own research into how that comes to be as well. And yeah, that was it, and that was it for both of us. My partner hadn't even been mostly vegetarian beforehand, or even fully vegetarian, and the both of us decided to become vegan overnight. Now, since we do live with his parents, we share a place with them, we decided to also show them, and they had just been omnivores this whole time, all their life as well, and they were also drinking alcohol every night, and this shifted them as well. And so as for me and my partner, we turned vegan overnight. His parents took an extra day, but we didn't just go vegan, we decided to stick to mainly whole food vegan. So what that means is very limited processed things and packaged things, and really trying to keep chemicals out. And so that's how and why I became vegan. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the changes that I have noticed since becoming vegan. These changes aren't just for myself, these are actually between the four of us. The first one, which was very amazing, was my partner's mother. She was able to go off of her blood pressure medications, and the swelling in her feet started going away. She was having a lot more energy. We were all having a lot more energy. So that was really great. My skin started looking better. I eventually started to feel comfortable not wearing makeup like I am now. And even if you look now, I do still have trouble with acne actually. However, it's nowhere near as bad as it was, say, a year ago, and I have actually been struggling with it for about 10 years. And I will also say that going vegan isn't enough for, I don't know, it may be enough for you, but it isn't enough for everyone just to go vegan and expect your face to clear and all your problems to go away, because there are other factors that do play in the role, such as any processed things you are having, or even having a lot of like fatty, oily foods basically. But say for example, at the moment there is not one pimple on my face at all, and that is because I have been cleaning up my diet again. Now I will talk about that just in a second. The other things I have also noticed is, as being a woman, my menstrual cycle has been a lot better as well. What else? My partner's parents also went off of alcohol, and they have been off of it for like 3 months now or something, and they didn't even crave it once after having it for like, I don't even know how many years, something like 20 years every night or something. They're not even craving it once, so that is amazing. I also have realized that my eyes, I think, look more clearer. My hair has been growing a lot better. Now all this hair here has been damaged from lots and lots of hair dyeing and growing it out. But all this new hair that is growing through is amazing. My nails are growing super quick, they are super strong, and I have just noticed that my overall health is better, and even if I accidentally cut myself, it heals really quickly. Now I will just talk about some of the negatives. So the negative things that happened when going vegan. First of all, there's the obvious side to it where it's sort of like socially difficult to explain, I have quite a big family. I have lots of aunties and uncles and cousins, and we are all very close, and we meet up for special events like Easter and Christmas and stuff, and sometimes birthdays. And what's been difficult is trying to explain that to them. I've actually had a couple sort of subtly tried to change my mind for some reason. I don't know why they have such a big thing against it. Maybe they're worried for my health, but I've had a couple of people sort of really ask me why and try to give me some stories on why it's okay basically, and how it's all done humanely, and oh, that's just the way it is, you know. Anyway, so obviously there's that social side to it, and you can't really eat out too much. It's okay here where I live, because where I live at the moment, veganism is very much becoming a big thing, and there are vegan restaurants and cafes and stuff around, so it's okay here. But I know that even if I just go 2 hours down the road basically, it's very different. Now, the second negative is the adjustment stage. I went straight into being vegan. Now, with my partner and his parents, they were fine with it, but I don't know if you can tell, I've always had a very sensitive stomach. And so it took a while for my body to get used to that amount of fiber, and there were only a couple of days where I was actually having bad like stomach pain, but I could definitely notice that it was taking a while to adjust, and it was a little bit hard for things to digest. But within a month that all cleared up, and I was feeling freaking amazing. And so the last negative was actually trying to get rid of those bad habits, because if you don't already know, or you may already know, that you can be a very unhealthy vegan and you can be getting just pretty much the exact same foods that you would be eating already, just different versions of them that happen to be vegan but are still just as bad for you. So that was the other negative, and that was something that was very difficult for me to get past. And I actually went through a bit of a stage of having lots of processed stuff and getting, you know, your vegan cheeses and everything like that. And I pretty much started just not feeling very good at all. My mood dropped, my energy dropped, and so that's pretty much what happened. I just went really away from whole foods. Now actually the thing that I'm struggling with, as I said, I seem to have always had a sensitive stomach, is I have had some allergies to something I'm eating. So right now I'm going through an elimination diet, and for about the last week I have been feeling like stomach issues every night and really like bad pains until like today basically. So that's pretty much has been a negative as well so far, but that's not really down to being vegan, that's just each individual's issues. And the very last thing I will say is like what type of vegan I am, because I know that there are different types of vegan diets. I am whole food, and what that ends up being is majority of it is carbs for me, and fats and proteins are usually around like the same level, I guess. I will paste some photos in from my what I eat in a day, and that is pretty much what like my ratios are like. So I don't even know what you would call it, but I wouldn't say it's like high carb, low fat, but it is higher carb and lower fat, if you know what I mean. Like I'm not super low or super high. I'm not like that extreme. It's just like, as I said, I eat whole foods. I try to not have as much processed things, and that's just what it ends up being like. Anyway, so that is all for this video. My throat is getting sore. I'm not used to talking for this long anymore. So I'm just gonna end the video there, and I hope you enjoyed it. You know what, you don't need to go, I'm not saying for anyone to go vegan overnight or anything. I'm just really asking for people to consider adding more fruits and vegetables into their diet and really look into where their foods are coming from, and then make a decision that way. And my decision just so happened to be completely eliminating animals from my life in what I eat and what I use and what I buy, basically. Anyway, so that's all for this video. Bye.